this computer. Recording in progress. Okay, got to change my headspace.
All right, take a couple of minutes. It's
We
all
will,
good.
we will. That's all right. It's been a while. It's been, the festive season, which can be one way or the other. How was yours?
It was good. It was different.
Yeah.
So a little challenging personally. Matt's Matt, my partner, his father passed away in June, so it was the first Christmas without him. So that was a bit different.
Yep. And do you normally all spend it together? Is that sort of something that you've done, like with his dad and his family?
Yeah, so I think the only times we've missed Christmas with his family was when we had the 2019-2020 fires where Matt and I were both working on the fire response. And then it was 2022, we both had COVID for Christmas, so we couldn't go. It's like, yeah, Merry Christmas. We've got COVID.
Yeah. And that was after the lockdowns as well.
I think it was, yeah,
Still,
not one of our stage fours, but I think there was one after that. So,
yeah.
Victoria,
Okay.
we had a lot of them. I've lost track. It's
Yes.
traumatic time.
And
Suppressed that.
I don't like to mention them because my sister's very sensitive about it.
So, I mean, it could have been handled differently, but I'm not sure how. So I won't criticize.
Oh, and look, it had been 100 years since we'd had something like that, occur. So how were we to know how to respond globally?
Exactly. And people are, it's always going to be criticism of that sort of thing. Doesn't matter what you do. So
Yeah,
I don't know that I would have done it that way, but I don't know how I would have done it. So
that's right. That's right. So yeah, so we will move forward because that's where we're at now.
I think there's the only one stage four lockdown that I wouldn't have called, and that was just when the in-laws were here with their caravan and they got locked down here for 5 weeks. And I was like, nah, would not have put that one in place. That was not a good call. Um, they were planning on caravanning up to Queensland and they got as far as Swan Hill and then had to stay here for a month and a bit. And it was very challenging for everybody.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not something that anyone had planned for.
No, and it was hard to comprehend because Matt and I both were in roles that allowed us to keep working.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
people found that really challenging and sort of he's doing his electrical generation stuff and off they go. And then
Yeah.
I'm doing COVID compliance, which made me not particularly popular at all.
Oh, well, yeah. Hello.
Hi, oh look, you're not complying with the requirements. Here's an infringement. I hate you.
So they channeled all of their kind of government, I guess, agencies into that kind of compliance stream because that's what they needed, where they needed the task force.
Yeah. So it's not ideal. I didn't do a lot of it personally because I sort of removed myself from being in the high risk areas
Yeah.
for personal reasons. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be exposed to people with COVID, thanks, but no
No.
thanks.
Yeah.
But we were still wearing the same uniform as the people that were. So I'd go and get fuel at the petrol station and people would abuse me because they thought I was the one giving them a fine. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway,
Yes.
moving right along.
Moving
How have
on.
you been? How is
Yes.
New Year in the Western Australian front?
Well,
2025 WA. Whoop, whoop.
yeah, well, it was entered into with lots of champagne. So we traditionally, I know, very nice. We traditionally have had celebrated New Year's Day as opposed to New Year's Eve for the last few years because very good friends of ours have a champagne New Year's Day, but they decided this year to bring it to the 31st. I'm not quite sure why, but it was still fun. So yeah, so it's lots of I guess people who love champagne, a lot of winemakers, and we all get together and drink copious amounts of very good champagne and of all sorts of different producers. So it's always a fun way. And I generally manage to avoid a hangover because it's champagne and it's delicious.
And why not? So is it actual champagne or is
Oh,
it
yeah.
a sparkling table wine method champenois?
No, you get very frowned upon if you bring anything that is not champagne, and you
Okay.
generally reserve that for later in the day. if you do. So
Do you have a favorite?
do like, funnily enough, they're not. He's not. Ugly or Ori. I can never pronounce it, but it's Ugly Oriet. I think is how you say it. Anyway, I will send you a picture of it. But that is all of their wines, their champagnes are super delicious and very, very quite pure in their kind of. If I look over my shoulder, it's because our dog Billy has been spayed and I've got her
Oh,
up here contained with me. Yeah.
oh, Billy's feeling a bit sad.
She is, and she doesn't have the cone of shame on at the moment. So I'm just keeping a bit of an eye on her, sort of with
It's
her.
called a sad lamp.
A sad lamp.
Yeah, because they look like a lampshade and they're
They
sad
do.
when they're wearing
And
it.
they're very, so at the moment she's quite happy because I've taken it off her. Anyway, so that's why I look over my shoulder, not because I'm not paying attention. Anyway,
Um,
yeah, so that's a really nice one. Yeah, and then there was another one actually that we had called Colin. And Colin, I know, doesn't sound
very
French.
simple. I
Yes,
like it.
and very pronounceable.
Also handy.
Yes. And that was also very yummy. But I guess they all were because they were all kind of, often, yeah, different ones that you might not have tried. So yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was
I
nice.
loved in 2012, I went to Champagne.
Ooh.
I spent a few weeks, I spent 8 weeks in Europe, but um, went to the wine regions of France. And I was so disappointed when I went to what I had always called Taitinger. And
Yes.
they're like, oh no, it's Tétager. And I
Oh,
was like, oh,
Tete.
Tétager. And it's like, that's not how it's not spelled like that.
Well, I
But
still say
so
tatty.
delicious.
Yeah, that's one that regularly features. Like someone generally will bring that one along. There's yeah, people have their favorites. So yeah, so
I
it was
do
good.
love that one. I think it's because I got there and there was this absolutely adorable lady from the Barossa who was working there.
Mm.
And
Oh
I was like,
yeah,
oh,
he was actually
we're
working
so
there.
excited to come here to Taittinger. And she's like, no, no, it is Tétager. And I was like, really? And she's like, oh, no, we're very fancy here. We have nice glasses, we have beautiful staircases, and we call our wines Tétager. And I was like, all righty then.
You roll that one out. You take Tete just so you can roll that one out sort of at parties. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is Tétager. I went there. It was amazing. I really loved it. And the staircase is so beautiful.
So,
They, they were much nicer than like we went to Verve and we went to Dom Perignon and they
yeah.
were all very we're very important. We're
Yes.
like the fancy champagne and
Yes.
they weren't as nice. Whereas the lady there was so adorable. She showed us everything. She's like, come back here. We don't normally show people, but you're Aussies, so come on. And we're like,
It's really cool when you get that kind of special little insights and
yeah,
treatment,
little
especially
warm fuzz.
yeah, especially in France because it doesn't happen often.
Well, no.
Mm.
I think it had a lot to do with the big "We're from Australia" sign that I put on the back of the car because it excused all of our bad driving and everyone was super nice. Oh, you're from Australia. And like, yeah, we're from Australia. That's why we can't drive very well. Don't throw things at us. Um,
You've done lots of travel, I think. It sounds like
oh, not as much as I'd like.
we've never
Still
done.
have so many places to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess I'm kind of bringing us back because this is meant
Yeah,
to,
we're getting sidetracked a
yeah,
lot.
and I'm enjoying this conversation, but I'm kind of aware that uh not
We're
well,
nearly 15 minutes in and we haven't talked about any of our mentoring things, which
no, but maybe this is helping. Maybe this sort of little, digress is sort of what you need at this point in time. So yeah, don't know. Don't know. How was your New
awesome
Year?
champagne.
Awesome champagne. Yeah, don't have any I've drunk at all.
No, it was good. We had New Year's at home, so I'm a big believer in not starting the new year with a ripping hangover.
Yeah,
So it was a bit of a quiet one. We
yeah,
saw in the new year, but no rowdy party, no fireworks in town, which was very good, which means the fire trucks don't have to go, which means
yeah,
I don't have to do any work.
yeah. Very sensible.
Um, but we did have the Grampians fire going on,
Yeah,
so yeah, it was a bit happening.
Yeah.
But
Did you have to go out to that?
I didn't have to go personally, which is good.
Right.
So there was
Yeah.
a bit of work in the background that
Yeah.
had to be done, but I didn't have to attend. So
Yeah. Yeah. We were actually in Melbourne for Christmas because my family and my son live over there. So we were there, and yeah, and that was all sort of going on in the background. Um, which was yeah, very, like kind of interesting that it was kind of close, but not that close really in the context of things.
yeah, it's a long way from Melbourne. So we spent Christmas in Melbourne as well, but we were down Mornington Peninsula way. So
On the Western Arm.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, Eastern.
Oh, sorry, Eastern Arm. I was on the Western Arm because that's where kind of Cuba lives. So yes, yeah, he lives down sort of towards Geelong. But yeah,
Yep.
cool. Well, I guess, how have you been sort of work-wise since we last caught up? I mean, last time we talked, you were very frustrated about things. I recall, vaguely recall.
No,
Um,
things have been good. So it's still plodding along. I bounce really well, which makes things good. So,
yeah,
I have a bad day, but the next day I'll be like, oh, it's a whole new day. And this is a whole new year. So
that's
had
exactly
some
right.
had some upsides.
Yeah.
I engineered some new rakes. I got very excited about that this week, which is
What did you do?
I just drew a pencil sketch of what I wanted and gave it to an engineer. But there's small things that make me happy.
And are they rakes? So rakes for use with
So
fire or
they're rakes to use in an air curtain
blasting?
incinerator. So
Right.
not really as straightforward as they sound from initial things. So they're 4.5 meters long, and we get them up to 1,000 degrees, and they're
Yeah.
used to destroy carcasses affected by particular diseases and
Yeah.
viruses. So,
Yeah.
um, but small things. It's
Oh,
like, oh, my rakes have been made. I'm so excited. And now
I
I'm going to paint them different colors so that I can say, grab the red rake or grab the green rake.
no, I completely appreciate and relate to that because we use lots of rakes in the wine industry to bog out tanks and stuff. And we'll have rakes for the floor, and we'll have rakes for internal, and we'll have rakes for certain types of vessels. And we'll have rakes with really long handles. So I get you in your rakes.
Yeah, it's weird, but it fills me with joy that I finally got them made, and the man who engineered them was amazing because
Yeah,
unfortunately the ones I used to have got we'll call them misplaced.
right.
They got misplaced, and so I had to organize to engineer new ones from memory, which is not always that great.
But did you
So
improve on it though?
I've absolutely improved on it to the nth degree. So there used to be these enormously long things that were horrendously hard to use and kind of warped and weird.
Yeah,
Um, and now they are still horrendously long and still a little weird, but they break down into segments that fit within the back of our vehicles so we can
yeah, nice.
transport them, albeit still awkwardly, because I
Yeah,
didn't want to make them too easy to move because then people forget that they're there and they take them
yeah,
home by accident.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they will just fit if you move all the stuff out. You can put them in the car,
yeah,
which
yeah,
means no one's going to go, oh, yes, I drove 6 hours home with them by mistake because I forgot they were
yeah,
there.
yeah. You see them.
Yeah. And they're a slightly heavier steel, so hopefully they don't get hot and warp and things like that. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a bit
right.
excited. That's been my highlight for the year so far. I know, not a great deal.
Oh, I
But
love a good tool because in the wine, like one of my favorite things in the wine industry is we use what's called these irrigators for like sucking, like when you draw liquid out at the bottom of the tank for a red wine and you want to put it back over the top of the skins, you irrigate that across that in the tank.
mhm,
And sometimes they're really bad at it and you want just an even spread. And so the
yep,
designs of some of the irrigators that we use are quite beautiful and, made out of stainless steel, and you can get really fancy. I mean, simpler ones usually are the better ones, but it's still, yeah, still fun. So yeah, I
to fill you
appreciate.
with joy.
Yeah, they do. I know, just like your rakes fill you with joy. I
I've got to get out a bit more, but
think so. I think it's a good thing.
Like I could find worse things to get excited
Mm.
about.
Hey,
But things have been going well. I did think after our last session that I probably should have talked to you about stuff we could cover this time, being around how to deal with difficult learners or difficult participants in training. But I still liked your ideas, so I didn't email you and say, "Hey, can we cover this?" But I have had some towards the end of the last year. I did have some challenges with people who were reluctant to learn new things, but
so that's a
that's
question I had actually for today is I kind of wanted to know, yeah, what you mean by difficult and around, challenge with engagement and that kind of stuff. Like what does that look like for you with those learners or those people that you're training?
well, so I had an issue towards the end of last year with a particular training that we ran. Um, so it was a firearms skills maintenance, and I had a particular learner who really was resistant to adapting to new safety processes. So they'd previously done things one way, and
Yeah,
we asked them to do things a different way, and they really didn't like it and got quite sassy about it. And like,
yeah.
had a bit
And
of a, why do we have to do it like that? What's it going to do? Why, why, why,
yeah,
why, why, why? It's
yeah.
like a
And
four-year-old asking why.
are these learners like employees or are they public?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so they're
all
employees.
employees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're all employees. So they kind of have to, like adhere to the safety guidelines really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But if they're resistant to them. So did you end up kind of having a breakthrough?
No, no. I think next time it will improve. So at the time, I just sort of went with that, why don't we try it this way? And okay, I can see how you feel, but this is why we're doing it. Um, And at the end of the session, I thought that it actually achieved what it needed to and that we're all good. And then unfortunately, I received some feedback,
Yeah.
probably not in the manner that the person intended. I was actually talking to someone else on the phone when that person arrived back in their office and then expressed how their day went and was unaware that I could hear them. Um,
Right.
Sounds a little bit awkward, but expressed quite openly how they felt about safety requirements that they were asked to follow, um, which was not ideal.
And did
Um,
I mean, were they aware that you could hear them?
Not initially, no.
So what happened after that in terms of, how
Well,
did,
I actually I was talking on the phone to someone else that was in the
yeah,
room when they came in and started talking to another person that was in the room.
yeah,
So I ended up going, look, I'm going to hang up because this is uncomfortable.
yeah.
And initially I sat on it and went, oh, felt a bit sad, felt a bit uncomfortable, decided I wasn't going to do anything about it. And then I ummed and ahed and ummed and ahed and ummed and ahed. And I talked to my fellow trainer that was there
Mm,
with me and said, hey, so this happened. And he lost his nana completely.
yeah,
And I was like, no, no, I don't want you to do anything formally. I think we just let it go and we'll deal with it in a process improvement sort of capacity rather than a personal thing,
yeah, yeah,
which he agreed with. But
yeah.
then the next day he changed his mind. So he
Oh,
actually contacted that person individually and went, oi, not okay.
yeah.
Um,
And did
they
that,
were told they needed to call and apologize, which of course they never did.
right,
And then their access to equipment was removed. So
right. And
because
has not
he left
been,
it a few days and went, righto, well, hey Robin, did this person call you and
yeah.
apologize for their poor attitude? And I was like, oh no, they didn't, but that's okay. And he's like, no, actually, it's not.
No, I agree with him and I really like that he supported, you know, whether you feel like he was supporting you in the right way or not, I think it was good that he was supporting the system and the process and reinforcing that. So, because so often we do make allowances just so that we don't oh, it's easier to not deal with the issue and the confrontation that's involved with it. And maybe try and make things different in the future so that you can tackle it from a different way than actually addressing the issue at hand. And so I I like that he supported you. Whether you appreciate how he did it or not, I'm not sure.
No, I do. I do very much appreciate his support and his lack of tolerance to their completely inappropriate behavior. And it was really good for him to do that.
Yeah.
It concerns me a little bit that that person was supported by their manager who went, oh yeah, it was ridiculous. And then
Oh,
they were talking to their manager. So
yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
three levels of management there that all were like, oh yeah, that's stupid. Um, and whilst I get that he's done 100%, he has totally backed me and he has locked it in and said, thanks very much, Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to go with that answer.
Yeah.
Um, I think next time it will make things a little bit more of a conflict.
Right.
Whereas I think sometimes when you're changing the goalpost for people, it takes some time to adjust.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
go, okay, we're kicking west instead of north this time. People go, what? No, I'm not doing that. That's not how it works. And you've got to expect there's going to be some resistance. And if they don't do it, slapping them down really hard might not necessarily bring out their best for the next opportunity.
And I do actually agree with you on that point as well, because just thinking of a context that we're having in the West Australian wine industry at the moment, that's about that kind of, I guess, and this isn't to do with, trainers in the system, it's about compliance really, and
Hmm.
working with compliance and um, I guess that process of rather than just going in the first instance saying this is how we're doing it because this is how we're doing it without any forewarning or any warming up of the I guess giving those people the opportunity to I guess hear it, digest it, think about it, and then kind of rationalize it. Um, you know, is I think can make sort of people really resistant to it. And I'm talking about wastewater management and disposal here in WA, and the wine industry has a mixed reputation about it. But the Department of Water and Environment and Regulation are coming down quite hard. And there's this real pushback from the industry. And I'm sitting in the middle going, hey guys, I get that you haven't been informed in this change in approach, but the regulations are the regulations. Let's try and talk about it and work together on it and try communication and that sort of thing in the first instance so that people can understand um, A, I guess why the change is happening, and then B, from their perspective, why their resistance is there and what their resistance to it is. And if it comes from just a place of this is how we've always done it, well, that's not really a valid justification of it. But it gives them an opportunity to sort of get that out of their system. But then it also provides an opening to discuss, well, why things have shifted in this direction and the purpose of it. And, if it doesn't, does it make more, does it take longer? Is it less efficient? Is it, what you're sort of teaching, in the new safety sort of protocols more complicated?
No, it's just little things. And that was why I was like they haven't had any opportunity to adjust to this. It's the first time I turned up. And the reason I was going to these places, they're ranges I haven't attended.
Yeah,
And they're ranges where we acknowledge that maybe we're not doing things the right way. And
yeah,
I bring a different skill set to James, who's the other
yeah,
trainer that I was there with. So he's ex-military, very, very good
yeah,
as an operator. So he is all about accuracy and that sort of thing.
yeah,
And perhaps a little less so in the safety space, whereas I have more range operation experience and
yeah,
safety.
yeah,
So, we looked at from when we got there to when we finished, and we had a bit of a debrief afterwards. And I was like, so James, like, here are four things that I've picked up that are really not okay. Like, what are your thoughts here? And he's like, oh my God, I'd never thought about that. Like,
mm,
that is one of them was that when people arrive, they park their car and they get their firearms out of the car and they bring them into the range. And there's no briefing beforehand, there's no anything. They
About
just get them out
safety
and
or
bring
any,
them
yeah,
in. And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
really, we really need for them to leave them in the car until they're told that they can bring them out of the car.
yeah,
And then when we put them down, we need to put them down so that they are facing in a safe firing direction,
yeah, yeah.
which they weren't. Like they were bringing them in and they were putting them facing so that they were facing the car park. And I was like,
Mm,
are we okay with this?
yeah, yeah,
It's
no,
really how we want to do it.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah,
that was where my first initial issue with this particular trainee was. I was like,
yeah,
hey, because they put the gun down and they went to put the ammunition next to it. And I was like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, could you just pop that over there for the moment? And they're like, well, what for? It's not going to load it itself into the gun. And I was like, no, no, it's not. But just humor me for a minute and just leave it on the other table. And they're like, what are you even doing here? And I was like, I'm just here. I'm here to do my job.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then, we did our briefing and we did our safety induction, and it was like, hi, I'm here to bring some range safety into
yeah,
play here, and this is the purpose of it, and this is why we're doing it because we've
yeah,
had some issues. We've detected there's a few, areas where we can improve.
yeah,
I try really hard to put a positive on it, not a, hey, we're doing a really shit job here.
yeah, yeah,
Instead, we say there's some areas where we can do better,
yeah,
where we can like provide ourselves with more opportunity to show our brilliant skill set.
mm,
Um, but this particular person was just really not keen on having any advice given. Um, Fantastic operator, but just not good at adapting to changes and,
yeah,
you know, so it got quite snooty.
yeah, yeah,
I turned around at one point with a firearm in their hand and swept the range with the barrel. And I was like, hey, so instead of doing that, why don't we try doing it like this? And didn't like that. Whereas what I possibly in future will be doing is instead of saying, hey, instead of doing that, let's do this. So we're going, oi, you're done, pack up, go sit in the car.
yeah,
Because what they did was reportable to WorkSafe. So it's
yeah,
not a small issue.
yeah.
It was a huge problem. And instead of being direct about it, I tried being nice. And
You
I
could,
was hoping to, more love with honey than,
yeah, no, you could go in like, I mean, given that your colleague has, I guess, for want of a better expression, played bad cop and kind of called this person out and kind of highlighted the issue. The next time you go in with the training is um, go in, and you've probably already shared, I don't know, you might have already shared this with them, but I guess highlight that when people do things like this and demonstrate it, that is a reportable offence because of A, B, C, and D. So we're here to help you avoid that.
yeah, we're here to make you safe.
Yeah,
And
we're here to
like
make
I
you safe
do very much
by
cover that.
yeah, and I'm sure you do. And I guess it's just maybe it's that repetition of repeating that in various ways. You know,
Well, our next goal is we're going to do the same thing and we're going to put in some safety improvements before they get there.
yeah,
So when they get there, they're going to be told, don't like in their joining instruction.
yes.
I'm not sure what the right word that's
When they're
that's
when
ex-military
they're
coming out
registering,
there. Um, when they register for the
yeah,
training,
yeah,
and they get the information about what they
yeah,
need to do, it's going to say when you arrive at the range, leave your firearms in the
yeah.
car until
Brilliant,
after the safety briefing.
brilliant.
And then we'll do the safety briefing and go, okay, you can now bring your firearms out. This is the safe direction. This is where you put
Yeah,
them. This is how you do that.
yeah,
And it's just about that education that they haven't
totally.
had in the past.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
And you can
and
also,
I think we'll find less resistance that
yeah,
way.
I agree. And that's that kind of informing them ahead of the space. And I like
Yeah.
that with the registration thing, that you're kind of telling them how they come and how they approach and what your expectations are. So that if they come and they don't follow that, you can say to them, look, can you just go and put that back and wait out there while I welcome the rest of the group here?
Yeah. Well, and in future, if they don't follow those, it'll be okay. So here were your instructions. Here is where you went wrong.
Yeah,
Please proceed somewhere else.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
please head back to your office and
Yeah.
join another session and, ensure you follow your instructions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And it
it's
just,
it's really challenging because we
oh,
don't like the particular person is an extremely good operator. Like
yeah.
they are very good at what they need to do when it comes to, know, um, engaging a target and getting the job
Yeah.
done. But
Yeah.
the rest of it, they're terrible at. And that is all about the fact that we've done a bad job of training them in the first
Exactly. And
place.
previously, and if they've been in the system for a long time, a lot of this wasn't in place when they
Well, they
started.
haven't been in long enough for that to be
Right.
an excuse. They've just got a
Okay.
bad attitude. But,
Okay. All right.
we'll work on that. We're
Yeah.
going to
Noted.
improve that.
Yeah.
Um,
Noted.
my plan was just to go, okay, you've done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Next time we're going to do better. But he gave that person a bit of a slap around, which I appreciate that he went into bat for me. But I also, in some ways, wish that they hadn't, because it's going to create a bit of friction moving forward. But
It could do, but it also could actually be used as an opportunity to kind of, yeah, just they're aware and their awareness. So they might pay a bit more
yeah.
attention about it, and just at least they may not be necessarily so upfront kind of,
Yeah. I've decided to approach it as if I know nothing about what happened in the background and be like,
yeah,
hi.
and it's your opportunity to reset and do it a different way. And that's
Yeah.
and that's what you suggested, which is great. So
It was
yeah,
a little awkward because there were other people that were there that rang me afterwards going, oh, so, I don't know if you know this person that well, but their attitude is about this. And, they're a great operator and they have so much respect for you. And I was like, it's not actually true, but,
yeah,
thanks so much for your opinion.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Please keep it to yourself moving forward. But, um, you know, I I think things are going to I'm really hopeful things are going to go well. So within the next 6 months, we're looking to engage a new RTO. Um,
Right.
so that's going to be a bit exciting from
Yeah,
our firearms training perspective. I'm not sure about the rest of the training that I
yeah.
run. I think that's still going to be sitting in airy fairyland, but
Do you get to
um,
have a say in who that RTO might be?
absolutely not.
Right.
My understanding is that our executive director is looking to engage some person based in Queensland to run our firearms training,
Right.
who comes with their own RTO.
Yeah.
So they will do our initial training program and our reaccreditation programs, and I'm
Yeah.
really hoping that they will involve the current team of firearms trainers for that.
Could you request that with your
I've put in a strong indication that that would be advisable.
good, good.
And then the firearms training team will run the rest of the skills maintenance sessions, which is
Yeah,
why I think it'll be important to have us involved in the accreditation and re-accred, because we
absolutely.
need to know what they're being told to learn so that
Yeah,
when we're doing the skills maintenance, we're making sure that they're the skills they're maintaining, not
yeah.
some other skills that we think they should. But
That's kind of a no-brainer. And, I
well, to
would,
you and me it is, but
yeah,
this
I
is
know.
government, so it's not always quite that straightforward.
But have you spoken to your other colleagues and are they in agreement with you that they should be involved in that too? Because if there's more than just your
Absolutely.
voice,
There's the three of us. So our area has three regions, and within
yeah,
those regions, we each have a
sure.
firearms trainer,
Yeah,
and the three of us all agree that this is critical.
yeah.
That doesn't always mean it's going to happen, unfortunately,
No.
but
But had the
we're
other,
hopeful.
yeah,
And the other two, sorry, agree that it's super important. Um, there's a meeting on Monday, and the
good.
decisions will be made there.
But have
Uh,
they expressed
the
their
three of us are not in that meeting, but we've certainly put forward how we feel about it and what we'd like out of it, which includes like I wrote a 5-page report on what I would like to do around improving our safety on ranges, and
excellent?
that's all linked to my international range officer qualifications. I mean, this
Yep,
is what we do.
yep,
If I go to Thailand, we do it like this. If I go
yes,
to Europe, we do it like this. If I
yeah,
go to WA, we do it. a little bit weird because WA is weird, but we do it kind of like this. Um, no, that's bad joke. Bad, Robin, bad.
It's okay. They're currently trying to work out what the entrance sign between South Australia and Western Australia will say on it as you come in as a welcoming. And someone suggested on the radio the other day, welcome to the Wild Wild West.
Oh, I thought they were going to say, you know, do not enter, go around, turn back. Like,
You know, you can come in, just expect it to be, whatever. But yeah. Look,
I love WA. I like to make fun of it, and as much as I find the firearms laws were very challenging, so when I came over in 2017 for the National Handgun Championships, it was extremely weird and uncomfortable, and I really didn't like that they gave my home address and firearms license and, you know, like my handgun serial number to a group of about 700 people. Um, I get that they're totally about maintaining privacy and security, so go them. But I, if every state I wish could just find the same rules and apply them,
yes.
because it would be so much more understandable. And
Oh,
if
and
that means we have to pick the hardest ones from every state and go with those, then
yeah.
it's probably not the worst thing that could happen to the world because
No.
the less access that people have to firearms, the better as
Yep.
far as keeping our communities safe.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
in saying that, I rely on having access to firearms for my job, and I use them in a personal space for a bit of R&R. But
Mhm.
we don't need people in the general public to have access to guns and munitions that could cause harm. So
Yeah, and without due cause to, like if they're a farmer or if they're, like involved in some sort of industry that requires them.
yeah, or
Yeah.
clubs, or
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not hard. So for me, I personally belong to a handgun club, and that's how I keep my handgun license.
Hmm.
And then for my work stuff, I have a government issued license,
Yeah.
which
That are different.
is
Mm.
really straightforward that says I can use it for these reasons.
Yes.
And Tuesday I had to go and use a firearm for one of those reasons, and having the ability to do that makes it much easier and safer for me to do my job. So
Yeah.
for that particular one, there was an animal stuck in the middle of a dam, and there was no way I could get close enough to do anything other than use a firearm to
Yeah.
euthanize it.
Yeah.
Um, but if I didn't have that equipment available, that animal would have suffered for several days before it died. And
Oh,
that's
it
not
would have been
really
a horrific.
appropriate. So,
Yeah. No, it would have been a
you know,
horrific way.
they're really important.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
but
I certainly, yeah. I like that we have, you know, I like that Australia has the position that it has, and I like it when we tighten the rules around that in terms of use. So I'm all pro that sort of stuff. Look, I feel like this has actually been a good discussion just to sort of, have a chat, but it hasn't
gone
necessarily,
sideways a little, but
but it hasn't necessarily assessed, or actually, I haven't achieved any of the things that I kind of hoped I would set out to achieve, except to be someone who listened. And I hope that's been
you've
helpful.
absolutely achieved that one. Tick that one off your to-do list. Nailed it. Um,
One of the things I actually did want to show you, and we can maybe do this after, is I have worked out a way to do through with Zoom, but I don't, because we were talking about how you can have your
participants,
sorry, the gal
participants.
yeah, your participants, the gallery view, and you could also see your PowerPoint notes and on the screen and that sort of stuff. So I have worked out how to do that. So we have run well over time, but
That's okay. I feel this is important. So
so I could show you this.
do an abbreviated version of your awesomeness, because I will say I did another, again using Teams. I did another Teams training session where once again, I was limited in that I'm like, hey, so I know you're there, but I can't see you. So
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
try and participate because I can't tell if you're snoozing at the wheel.
Yeah.
Um,
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share with you. So
Thank you.
let me, oh, now, I'm going to screen share with you, and then I'm going to, I need to get push, and then I'm going to have to,
Are
uh,
these your children in the background?
ah, let me show you.
They're a little bit adorable.
Yeah. So this is Lulu. She's 21 this year. Tiki has just finished high school. She's 17, turning 18 soon. And that's Cubes, who lives in Melbourne, and he's 22.
Okay, your kids are a bit cute.
They are rather lovely, I think.
Oh, they're a little bit cute.
Um, so I'm just trying to work out how I can show you how to do this share screen thing while I'm sharing the screen with you, which is kind of
That's all
bizarre.
right. So I can see your wine quality check open, look,
Yeah.
sniff, sip.
So what happens is I'm going to talk you, actually, I'm going to get out of screen sharing, and I'm going to actually talk you through the process yourself. So I want you
Okay.
to do this.
Right.
So open up or click on the share button.
I'm just going to find a PowerPoint to share first so that I'm not just sharing some random
So
thing.
I'll,
Is
I'll,
that okay?
yeah, that's fine. You could even do your one that you presented sort of in task 2 of session 2 or whatever it was, or task.
That might be harder for me to find than anything else. Give me 2 seconds. I am bound to have something on my desktop.
While
Just
you're doing that, I'm going to try and explain the process. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up the PowerPoint, and you're going to make it so that you're using how many screens?
two.
2. Okay. So have your PowerPoint set up on your biggest screen. If they're both big screens, then that's good. And I want you to have on that same screen the Zoom sort of, us alongside it.
Yeah. So I have forgotten. I lost my Zoom. Oh, tab. There's Ali.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and once you've got me and the Zoom sitting alongside your PowerPoint, go to the PowerPoint and
This
click
is really
slide.
awkward because I can't find you now. Like I can see you when I alt tab, but then you don't come up.
Is
I'm
that you're
really
not? Yeah, that's yeah. This may not work because it's one of those things that I may not be able to explain
no, I don't think it's a
coherently.
you thing. I think it's I can see you in my taskbar, but when I click on you, you just aren't there. Where did you go?
Is it?
I don't want a screenshot. Zoom workplace? No. I don't want to leave the meeting. I can see you down the bottom as a little icon, and when I click on you, it comes back with the Zoom workplace because it hates
Okay.
me.
Well, we can. Well, let's just leave it that way. You wanted to see me, didn't you? Because we want to have
I
the
do
gallery.
because I think you're amazing and I want to look at your face. And now
Huh,
I've broken. Oh, there you are.
you've got me.
Ah, found you again.
Excellent.
Ah!
Yay. All right.
Okay.
So put
Now I'm going to put my PowerPoint on the same page,
on the
on the
same
same
page,
screen.
on the same screen, and have them sitting side by side.
Well,
And
they're one's in front of the other. Is that
if it's
okay?
slightly in front of it, that's fine. So go up to Zoom, and where it has view up in the right sort of hand corner, make sure that you're on gallery already.
Yes, I am.
And then click it so that it only represents part of your screen. So you want to go, yeah, you want to make it sort of just, oh, hang on, you've already got that. I'm going to talk, as I do this, I'm going to do exactly what I'm telling you to do because that's where it will make sense to me. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is I want you to go onto your slideshow and click from beginning in terms of presentation mode.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure how that will come up.
it's come up on my other screen.
Okay, I just need to
Oh,
switch
God.
my, so I swap my displays around. And so what you want to do is you just want to reduce your presentation view so that it sits alongside the Zoom images of us.
And that is not working. Like, it literally goes full screen on one page and then I've got you on the other.
So,
Um,
so when you say you've got me on the other, have you got me as only part of the screen on the other?
no, you're full screen. You're
So you
beautiful.
don't
I can
you
see your whole Rock bookshelf, the works.
you
It's all
don't
there.
you don't want me to be a full screen. You want me to be kind of just half of the screen. So can you go up into Zoom and just kind of click on the right up the top right hand side on the square
Yeah.
and just so it's not full screen. So it goes,
Shrinky shrink.
yeah,
All
shrink.
right, I've shrunk you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm in my PowerPoint.
And
Say
then
exit.
yeah,
So if I go into the little window that says slideshow,
yes. So what you want is you want to have the slideshow set up so that the actual slideshow itself is on your other screen and the presenter view that you've got sits alongside us. And you may have to reduce it or shrink it so that you can adjust its space.
oh, look at that. That
And
is what I have done.
and then what you can do is you can go into your share screen mode with Zoom and you can either nominate to share the screen that the PowerPoint is on, or there's another tricksy way that you can do it. Sharing her screen, fabulous. Now I can see, and can you still see me in kind of the
It
gallery?
made you tiny, but then I used the little arrows and it made you big again.
Okay, and then you can also pull up chat and you can see chat as well. So this
Oh
is
God.
if you wanted, and you could
Hang
just
on. I'm gonna do that. And there it is.
yeah, and you can just position the chat somewhere that's in your screen, but not interfering with what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's how you can so does that kind of help? Do you think that that's sort of something that could help you with online stuff?
I don't know. I should put something in the chat about that.
So, because the other thing is then just try moving through your slides and just make sure.
No, this is so good. So I'm
Yeah,
honestly, I had to do an induction not so long ago, and my big boss lady went, "Oh, how did it go? Did you make them turn their
yeah,
cameras on?" And I was like, "Well, like
yeah,
I asked them to, but I can't see what they're doing." So,
yeah,
oh.
yeah,
Um, and this is so good because this gives me that ability
yeah.
to actually be like, "Oh, yes.
And
Oh, look, there you go. There's a really awkward picture of me that you can see."
that's cool. That's really cool. So yeah, so that's how you can do. That's one way of doing it. There is another one, but if this is works for you and you're happy with this and you can see your presenter view notes, then I reckon
No,
this.
that's so much better. So
Cool.
I've previously used Teams, not Zoom, and it's nothing worse because as soon as you go into presenter mode, you can't see what you're doing. And it's like, are they there? Are they
Yeah,
asleep? Are they even commenting? And
yeah,
it's great when it's a really large facilitated thing. So I've done quite a few sort of Teams meetings where it's facilitated by someone else and I'm just presenting, and then the facilitator will be like, "So there's a question from the chat that says blah,"
yeah,
or "This person's got their hand up."
yeah, yeah,
But apart from that, you sort of start going, is there anyone even there? Can they hear me? You feel so disconnected.
yeah.
This is way better.
Yeah, and the other thing that you can actually do is so go back into sharing. So stop sharing your screen, and I want to show you one more thing. So I want you to go
Yeah.
back into sharing screen, and
Um,
up the top of that, when you go into it, up the top there'll be a tab that says Advanced.
yeah.
So click on that, and on should be the top right hand side is like a square, and the square actually is what is represents an outline. And so you can take that square and you can put it on any part of your screen in the computer, and it will only share that part of your screen.
Oh God, this is a bit exciting.
And so you
Ooh.
could you could potentially move all of your Zoom image over. Oh, actually, no, you can't do that. I worked out you can't do that. But anyway, if you want to only share a section of your screen, you can do this way. So you just put that green square over the top of whatever it is you want to share, and adjust it, and then go share, and that should come up and I should be able to see whatever you're sharing with me. You're sharing me again.
Okay,
I thought you're
I'm
on.
not entirely sure that that's it.
Yeah, oh, look,
I don't know what you can see.
I,
I'm looking at our meeting request and my reminder that says I'm very, very late.
well, that's what I'm looking at, but I've got two of you up on my screen, which is
Oh,
fine.
it's because one's just not enough.
But, so yeah, so anyway, it took me a little bit to work that one out, but I was quite pleased when I sort of,
Yeah,
because that will help me as well.
that is fantastic. I really know how to
There
get
we
out of
go.
that, but ensure I'm going to close my PowerPoint down. Yay, that is fantastic.
That's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, yeah, I think we've had a lovely extended chat, and hopefully Anna will appreciate this when she sees it.
If she watches the
If
thing,
she
she
watches,
might go, "Oh God, they've talked for too long."
they do
Uh,
about stuff. So I'm going to stop recording now, but it's been lovely, actually having this session with you and to be able to chat.
It's been so good, and I
And it doesn't
really
have to.
do appreciate it.
So yeah, anyway, I'm going to finish. Do you want to send me a Teams? I'm going to stop recording now.